Welcome to the A2C podcast. We're your unfiltered ticket to the world behind high achievers of every kind. No ads here, it's just pure value. So do me a favor and share this if you find some inspiration, motivation, or something else in between. Authentic, no constraints, no limits. Let's go.
The background, good stuff. Dude, I love the background. But
I'm
all
a Tiger King.
like, I'm not sure if we should start this off with Tiger King conversation or if we should start it off with some lyrics.
Go for it.
That's fine. Shake it twice, you're okay. Shake it 3 times and you're playing with yourself.
Do you know why you have to shake it after you go pee?
Because you got the drippy drops.
It's just because you haven't taught it how to go. Yeah.
You taught it how to go. Who has to where a shake is necessary?
Someone has.
Dude, the only men I think I would talk to who are going to be like, oh, a shake is not necessary, are the same men that are like, look, you don't need a shake. You just you rip off one square and you dab.
You have to make that sound too.
Or like we were talking about earlier, maybe the Taco Bell dong. Best of times was the worst times. Peter Wood, how are you?
I'm good, man. Thanks for coming to my podcast, everybody. Welcome to A2P, according to Peter. Long time coming. Long time listener, first time caller.
What's the story behind that name? That's an interesting name for Peter. Yeah. Well, no, I know Peter. Peter Cox.
It means The Rock.
I'm sorry to say The Rock or Throck, like throbbing rock.
Yes, all of the above.
Well, folks, I want to introduce you to Peter Coxwood, a friend of mine, an enemy of mine, and an anemone of mine.
See, an enemy.
Anemone. All right, Marlon.
We just watched that. The boys just watched that a couple weeks ago.
Dude, do you know how many conspiracy theories there are around that damn movie?
Finding Nemo? No.
Infinite. I saw one the other day. First time I saw it. Guess what? Number one, barracudas are open water fish, so it wouldn't have been hunting at the reef anyways. Number two, hear me out. Number two, female clownfish are known for eating their eggs. The story of the barracuda, so Marlin told Nemo to protect Nemo from the truth.
Which is on par with a lot of the Disney classics, right? Like they took the original thing and Disneyed it up a little bit, where it wasn't
Snow White and gave her a penis? Or,
I don't know if that's necessarily what I meant, but maybe.
This is a podcast where we get to say what we want. And even if this gets canceled, everything else we do, this is like Vegas. What happens in Vegas stays in Vegas.
Oh, that's not true, because this one time I went to this event that you put on, and the Ivy Boys brought COVID, and that did not stay in Vegas. That came home with me. It's a bad deal.
Isn't it funny that
thanks a lot, Nate?
It's like chlamydia, gonorrhea, and COVID.
The vid at the Rona.
Oh my gosh, dude. Oh, good times. Did you get the truck done?
Just about. I just need to do the motor mounts. I think I'm going to do those tomorrow. That's the game plan.
When does Colin go back?
See, when does this air? So as long as Cassandra doesn't see this before Saturday morning,
it'll be probably weeks or 24 to 48 hours.
Yeah, so we're good. A little more than 24. Thanks, Aiden. So the game plan has been Colin sent me a text a couple weeks ago, and he's like, hey, give me a call when you're somewhere where mom's not around. I'm like, so I call him. He's like, hey, so we have got a couple days off for Easter. I was thinking about coming home and using a couple days leave to have some extra time. It's like, oh, awesome. He's like, but I'd like to surprise mom. Cool. Sounds like a plan. We won't tell mom. So she has no idea. That's why I've been thrashing on the truck, is because Colin is coming into town. Everyone that doesn't know Colin is in the Marine Corps. That's my oldest boy. He's stationed out of Camp Porno, not to be confused with Camp Porno. So he's flying in tomorrow night at 9:00, right?
So got to bug up your ass.
Yeah, she thinks I'm just getting after it.
She's like, God, my man. Look at it.
So the flip side of that is so I called. I wanted to make sure if she has to work she only works Fridays and Saturdays, right? But if she has to work on one of those days, she will not stay out late. She's in bed at 8:30 at the latest. So I called her boss. I called Charlie, and I was like, hey, actually I called his wife. I was like, hey, is it is it possible for you guys just to not schedule Cassandra for this Saturday? It's like, I'm planning a surprise. Colin's going to be home for the weekend. I'd like them to be able to spend some time together. Like, oh yeah, not a problem. Cool. Awesome. So I've got it worked out where she's not going to have any appointments this Saturday. So in theory, we should be able to go out Friday night and have a good time, right? And my game plan was, okay, I'll have my mom and dad watch the boys. I'll take Cassandra out. We'll get some dinner a little later than normal. And then on the way home, I'm just going to head over to the airport and we'll go pick Colin up, right? So as it turns out, Cassandra's going to have a medical procedure tomorrow, which is probably going to pump the brakes hard on all of those other plans. Like, Colin's still going to come into town. They're still going to get to hang out. She'll get to see her biggest baby, which she's going to be super excited about. But she ended up calling her boss and saying, like, hey, I'm really sorry. I got scheduled for this medical procedure. I need Friday and Saturday this week and possibly next week. So pretty much all of the foundation that I did to be sneaky is out the window because she called and canceled most of it. So now I just need to figure out.
Are they probably like, is this a reverse April Fool's prank?
So yeah, so now I got to figure out, okay, how do I go get Colin at this point? Because the airport's like 45 minutes from our house. It's going to be kind of hard to sneak out at 8 o'clock at night. I'll be back.
Beer run.
Right.
For an hour and a half.
I got to go get some smokes. See you later.
And that's when she's going to be like, what took you so long? You were just out for some Virginia Slims, the menthols. And you're like, yeah, but then I ran into a client. You know me.
Yeah. No Virginia Slims. They only had Virginia Thicks. THICCC. Thick.
Do you know what you can do? Get in a fight with her. Get in a fight. You can slam your door on the way out and be like, fuck this house. I'm so tired of your shit.
Fuck you. You're cooling them out.
And then show up an hour and a half later. She's changed the locks already. She's got some new bow in your bed. Sandra would do that. She's one of the best women I've ever met in my life. She's amazing.
Yeah, she aight.
It'll at least be tomorrow morning.
Bare minimum. Yeah. So anyway, Colin didn't tell anybody else he's coming into town. It's like we got Easter plans and stuff. Nobody knows he's going to be there.
We could do a GoFundMe for that 45-minute Uber ride because God knows that's not going to be cheap.
Right. So I'll get it figured out. I think ultimately what I'm probably going to do is the boys are still going to stay at my folks' house, but I think ultimately what we'll probably end up doing is I'll probably get one of the other grandparents in on the heist and have them go pick them up.
That's lame. Let's do a GoFundMe.
Yeah, I think that's the better option.
And let's skim 10% off the top.
In addition to what GoFundMe takes?
Yeah. Yeah, let's take...
How would they take 10%? They take more than that.
I don't think they take 10%. I've done a couple GoFundMes for some folks in the past, and I had a manager in the past that put on this annual, like he does this annual little party for our whole region when I was there, right? And we did our annual powwow or whatever for that year. We did it at what's called Pirates Cove in Boulder City, Nevada. This is before I moved to Boulder City. Dude, you should look it up. The guy that owns it, Boulder City, Nevada, those homes, they're all $1 million homes, right? So he buys like 5 homes around each other, then connects the whole property. He builds basically a water park, multiple pools, slides, all sorts of stuff. And then he goes to Disneyland when Disneyland was redoing Pirates of the Caribbean, and he bought all the old decorations. So it's called Pirates Cove. He literally has all the old Disneyland decorations all over this place. Each room is like Blackbeard's room, and like it's freaking cool. But it's like $10,000-$15,000 a night for this place. Ooh. Yeah, and so he dropped a dime on this. Normally he's like $10,000 for the whole thing, and it's like 3-4 days, and really went out of his way. It was seriously super cool. And I was just like, all these other agents were like, oh yeah, we're just, they were appreciative, but nobody was doing shit about it. And I was just like, guys, let's throw a little GoFundMe together here, throw a little pool together. And, if everybody pitched in $500 to $1,000, we can get John back for, half of this, have $500 to $1,000 each. Right. And there was some that over donated. There was some that donated on par. Most under donated, which sucked. And so I kind of came in and I'd had a really good year. just kind of caught up the rest and we caught him up. But yeah, that's my GoFundMe story. I don't remember him taking even 10% though. I want to say it was like merchant process, like 3 or 4% was all. It wasn't too bad. So
Yeah.
dude, Pirates Cove, Rice quarterly meetup.
Valid. Take some notes.
We're going to have to grow this thing a little more before we do that though. At $10,000 a night, I'm going to have to.
That's only one Rise member.
Per night. Oh my gosh. No, it was a super cool place. You ought to look it up. And there's enough room. Like if you got for like a family reunion or something, if you got everybody in on it, it wouldn't be like $10,000 goes away fast if you've got enough folks.
Yeah.
So super cool. Super cool. And then Boulder City's a cool little town. I like Boulder City. I miss living there.
Yeah, that's where we met up with Kenny and all those guys.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, Kenny and Chelsea. Who else came? Caleb Klein came and
Jeremy.
Yeah. Yeah. Good group. Good folks. So you're getting the grandparents involved.
That's the game plan.
I still think you ought to do something with fighting.
Yeah. That's good plan B.
Triple dog dare.
I know that you just had surgery this morning, and I know that I stormed out of the house and slammed the door, but it'll be worth it.
Babe, I know you just had surgery this morning, but did you seriously eat all the last of the fucking Lucky Charms? For fucking real?
They're always after me, Lucky Charms.
Freedom. I got to throw a Scottish joke in there for you. Dude, so you guys did the Scottish games a few weeks ago, right?
Yep.
I showed Camille that picture. I told her about it. And she's like, oh, that's fun. That's funny. So literally just like a few days ago, it came up again. And she's like, wait, Peter's really like Scottish. And I was like, look at him. Look at him. Dude is straight out of the Brave or Braveheart. And she's like, so wait, like they actually went to Scottish games? And I was like, yeah, log tossing and like all the stuff. She's like, I thought you were just kidding.
That's not just being a racist. No, I was also being a racist, not just. I wasn't just bringing that up. I was also bringing that up.
It was quite the conversation. I was just very incredulous. It's like, damn, baby. I don't know why you don't believe me. I don't know why.
Maybe it's because you do stuff like, go, I can't believe you ate the rest of the Lucky Charms. Slam. And then come back later. It's like, I just kidding. I just had to go to the store.
I just wanted to sneak out and surprise you with these gas station licorice.
Yeah. They had these at the Scottish games too. You know what they did have at the Scottish games that was awesome?
Yeah. Tell me.
They have a booth where it's just all Scottish food. And not like haggis and like prepared foods, but stuff like it's the equivalent of like coffee crisps. Like they have Scottish candies.
You shut your poor mouth. There is no equivalent to coffee crisp.
Have you had a flake bar?
No, but dude, I'm telling you right now.
Send you a flake bar.
I've never had a grown man text me in the morning as he's eating a coffee crisp candy telling me that every day should start with
That's
coffee.
not true. I know that's not true because I know for a fact that happened.
I did never had another man. You didn't text me about Flaky Bar.
Oh yeah, flake bar is dope.
Sounds like
He makes them. They take
like a dandruff shampoo.
Yeah, kind of like, but in chocolate form. So they take it and like just drizzle layers of chocolate back and forth on top of each other, and it sets super quick. And so like there's all these air pockets in between the layers of chocolate, so it just dissolves in your mouth. It's delicious.
Dude, is it on Amazon? Can I prime it?
I'm going to send you one.
You want to know what pissed me off the most about the whole coffee crisp scenario? It's that
I guessed that you were sending coffee crisps.
That too. But no, it was like, hey, is there anything at your door? No, it's that
covered under the stairs.
It's that like 15. I haven't been up to Canada in like 15 years.
It's pronounced Canada.
13 years. Yeah, 13 years actually. 13 years. Because Camille and I have been married almost 13 years, and I was up there working this summer right before we got married. So I haven't been up there in 13 years. And for 13 years, I pretty much haven't had coffee crisp. You know, the occasion here and there when my brother would bring one down or whatever. And it didn't occur to me to check frickin' Amazon for it until I was like, how do I get my friend Peter some coffee crisp?
In which case, I had already had the same idea, which is, how can I get Carson's friend Peter some coffee crisp?
For those who
went to Amazon.
Coffee Crisp is, this is not like Cookie Crisp. Cookie Crisp, the cereal, bullshit. This is, imagine a Fat Cat Kit Kat coffee.
Kit Kat, yeah, coffee flavored Kit Kat.
Oh my gosh.
They're dope.
With Cadbury chocolate, not Hershey's, right? Oh my gosh.
I sent Brittany and Tyler home with a few of them because they stayed at our house. You and Camille stayed on the front end of that trip, and Tyler and Brittany stayed on the back end.
Right.
And I sent Brittany home with a couple, and she was jonesing for more. She was like, she had one. She's like, oh my God, where'd you get this? Amazon. Carson. Amazon.
That's good to know. I'm going to have to send Brittany some Coffee Crisp. I'm going to have to do it now before this episode airs.
Yes. You have, from what I've heard, 24 to 48 hours.
Let me text Camille. Hey, can you send Brittany some Coffee Crisp on the sly? Smirk. Yeah, got to add that.
Wink emoji, wink emoji.
She's going to text me back and be like, what the hell? And then I'm going to be like, casting with Peter. And she's going to be like, oh. All right, let's get into something heavy here.
Okay, lay it on me.
What's your current weight?
No, well,
Peter. What's the most significant thing going on in your life right now?
Most significant? I think the biggest thing is dealing with some family stuff right now. So, Cassandra had a miscarriage a few weeks ago, and so that's kind of good.
Does you want that on the air? Do we need
maybe, but it's what's happening. You know, it is what it is. So that's been a challenge the last few weeks for us. You know, yeah. Good news, bad news is it's something that we've been through before, so it's not the first time. So we kind of know what's going on, what's happening with it. But you know, it's rough, man. It's rough. So it kind of got me out of a groove, and I'm trying to get back into the groove. And so hopefully after this weekend, we'll be able to get some stuff back on track and start moving forward.
Did you guys ever tell the boys that she was pregnant?
No, we did not, because she was concerned about this. You know, she's been pregnant 8 times total. We've got 3 boys. So yeah, she was concerned that we were going to have to untell them, basically, you know? So the game plan with them was like, we were literally like, okay, this weekend we're going to tell them. And then it ended up blowing up, and it's like, well, good news is we didn't tell them. Cause that's the hardest part of the whole thing, man, is there's a real small circle of people that her or I told that we were pregnant in the first place. I don't remember who it was. Dude, it might have been Cam. It might have been Cameron that said something to the effect of like, you know, when you're concerned about stuff, right? But specifically like pregnancy kind of stuff, and hey, it may or may not work out. You could keep it to yourself, right? But you could also tell some people, specifically the people closest to you, because if and when something were to happen and it didn't work out, like, you need and want people to talk to, right? So it might as well be your closest friends, like, hey, look, at least they can empathize, sympathize, help you navigate, and be understanding, like, hey, this is what I'm going through. You know, that's kind of the price of admission of being somebody's really close friend, is like, you get to help me navigate through the good and the heavy. You know, that's what friends do.
Yeah, I'll tell you, you know, one of the probably the most broken my heart has ever been. And I've had some women break my heart. I got married young, but that doesn't mean, you know, I married the first girl I dated. I had some people break my heart. The most heartbroken I've ever been is when Camille's dad passed, and her mom called me in tears, and she's like, you know, Carson, you need to get home. And so I run home from the office, and we were homeschooling at the time. So the boys were home and everything. Jameson was so young, you know, he didn't really know what was going on at that time, or it didn't like hit him, but Jensen did. And he had a really close relationship with his grandpa. And obviously, you know, Camilla had a really close relationship with her dad. And I walked in the door, heard him in the back room. So I walk into the back room, and the most broken my heart's ever been was, like, obviously Camille's dealing with her stuff and a lot of emotion. But on top of that, she was trying to like be in that space for herself, but then console Jensen. And that's the most broken my heart's ever been. Like just seeing them sitting on the floor, holding each other. And I just sat down on the floor with them. And that was a very harrowing moment.
Yep.
I don't ever envy anybody that has to tell their child that somebody that their child loved died. Like that's not something I would wish on. I wouldn't wish anything on anyone in that regard, but that was heart-wrenching. So.
Yeah, I had one of those, not with the boys, but with my aunt. My Uncle Huff had passed away unexpectedly, just in his sleep. He was living with my grandma. So my mom has 2 biological siblings, right? Uncle Huff and Aunt Sis, and I think 7 step siblings. There's 9 or 10 of them total. But my aunt and I were working together at the same place, and I got a phone call, I think from my mom, to let me know that, hey, we found Uncle Huff deceased. It's like, I need you to get your aunt, because we were working at the same place. Like, I need you to bring your aunt home. Like, okay, all right. So I walk it, great big like office space type office environment, like, just a cube farm, right? So I walk over, it's like, hey, can I go talk to you in one of the offices for a minute? She's like, oh yeah, what's going on? I was like, nope, need to talk to you in an office. And she's like, oh, okay. And at the time I was her supervisor. Like, this is not something for us to talk about out here in front of everybody. We need to go talk in the office. I pulled her in the office and told her, and she sobbed and sobbed and sobbed. And it was like, man, the amount of pain that a couple words coming out of my mouth just caused somebody that I love was terrible, just terrible, and it's nothing malicious or intentional. It's just you strung those words together like, hey, Uncle Huff passed away. I mean, it literally, she just fell. Yeah, man, words in the right order, the wrong words to the right person can be crippling. So no fun. I do have a funnier death story for you though. Yeah. So we're gonna lighten this thing up. You ready for this?
Before you get into it, I was gonna reference, have you seen Bill Burr's The Way You Use Words? Like why black people can get away with using like the fuck word in a sentence without pissing people off and white people can't? Because white people or it was not just in a sentence, but with race, right? And he's like, it's because white people keep putting the F word in front of the race. Like, that fucking Asian. Versus black people are like, this Asian motherfucker. Anyways.
Order of operations matters.
Yeah, so that's what that reminded. Now continue with your funny death story.
Okay, so I'm going to tell you it starts off sad, but then it gets funny. Christmas Day.
1942.
2 years ago, so not this past Christmas, but the Christmas before that, I had to have my dog put down on Christmas Day. Gabby, golden retriever, best dog on the planet. She was 14 years old, which for a golden retriever is like ancient. She actually was my great aunt's dog. When Aunt Carol passed away, Gabby was still a puppy. So Gabby came to live with us. She was like 3. Gabby came to live with us, and we had her for 11 years, right? And man, that dog just adored the boys, all 3 of them. Just loved on them and absolutely worshiped the ground that they walked on. And she was healthy as a freaking horse until her last day. I mean, she literally, her last day, like she's running around playing, having a good time with the boys. And she had a seizure just out of the blue. Hadn't ever had anything like that. Had a seizure. It's Christmas Day, so I tried calling all the different vets and stuff. I found a vet that was able to answer some questions. They're like, well, when dogs get older, sometimes that happens. But if it's just one, don't worry about it. We'll see you on Monday. If it starts happening with more frequency, then give us a call back and we'll tell you what to do. Okay. So getting ready to do dinner. Our whole family's over there, right? We had everybody over Christmas Day for our family. And Gabby had another seizure. And this time, she might have had one in between, but this time, she just didn't recover from it. She got up and was walking in circles and running into stuff. And so I picked up my dog and loaded her in the car and drove her to this 24-hour emergency vet. And she ended up we made the decision to go ahead and put her down because they were like, yeah, she's been here for 4 hours and has been non-responsive and nothing's changing. You know, she's pretty much, once I loaded her onto the gurney at the place, she was gone. So I took Colin with me, right? Because Gabby's his girl. And we said our goodbyes and came home and finished Christmas dinner and finished off the evening, right? So like a week later, I didn't realize that the boys had seen Gabby have a seizure. And we tried our best to kind of protect them from seeing that, but apparently they had seen it. So like a week later, the boys are at a park with Cassandra and my mother-in-law. And this woman is walking her dog. And Peter, being my kid, talks to any and everybody that walks by, right? And he sees this lady, he's like, I like your dog. And she's like, oh, thanks. He's like, we used to have 2 dogs, but now we only have 1 dog. Because Gabby, she got sick and rolled on the floor and did this, and then she went to heaven. And the lady was just like, okay, bye. So yeah, there's that.
Damn, dude. Damn.
Yeah, damn dirty apes.
All right, I've got a total change of topic here to really lighten the mood. Actually, let me see. Did Camille text me back? Is she gonna? Yes, I can do that. Don't worry, sugar. Peter and I are podcasting, and it just came up. Now she's gonna worry. So I just saw. I've never heard about this before in my life. I was born and spent the first part of my life in the Phoenix area, in Gilbert, right?
Yep.
I've never heard about this in my life. Maybe I was just sheltered from, but just saw a ticker talker the other day about the little people in the Superstition Mountains. Have you ever heard of this? I've never heard of it until, and I'm not, folks, for those of you listening, I'm not talking about midgets and fucking dwarves, okay? Talking about like legitimate small people. This isn't getting any better. Okay, altitude challenge, like little fucking children. I'm not talking about like they could have been in Game of Thrones. I'm talking about normally proportioned. Fuck, Peter, save me. Have you heard about the small people in the Superstition Mountains?
No, I have not.
Dude, now I'm going to have to look this up. I was saving this for this podcast to ask you. And you've heard of everything in there. Small people in the Superstition Mountains.
Like a whole colony of people, or like just when people don't reach full height, they go live in the superstitions?
No, like almost like the sense I got from what they were describing was like
A tribe of pygmies?
Yeah, basically like Aborigines, but smaller. Not Aborigines that all happen to have dwarfism or anything, just regular Aborigines, but small.
Smurfs.
But not blue.
That you know of.
Dude, there's all sorts of stuff. The Lost Dutchman mine in the Superstitions. Have you heard of that?
Mm-hmm.
What is that about?
Isn't that Lost Dutchman? Who's that dude that D.B. Cooper? That related to that? Where like they think that D.B. Cooper's fortune basically was scattered somewhere over the superstitions.
Dude, I just texted you the link. The ferocious little people and giants of the Superstition Mountains. It's a YouTube link. You don't have to watch it right now, but get into this.
Get on my level.
Dude, speaking of D.B. Cooper, did you see the news a few weeks ago? D.B. Cooper, they believe, has been found dead.
I figured he was dead.
He literally just died. Was basically living as a hobbit hobo in the VA basement in a small town USA type of thing. Do I need to find you another link? How are you this unplugged?
I don't know, man.
Must have been a couple weeks for you. It's like your mind is...
I know about my buddy Joe up there. Joe Exotic.
Joe Exotic?
That was the best thing to happen out of COVID, was that documentary. Freaking Tiger King.
I still have not seen it.
You're missing out. If you like yourself a good old-fashioned dumpster fire of a documentary, this is for you.
Camille and I, like when COVID hit and everybody started doing all the same shit all at the same time always, we were like, we are not going to do that. So there's a lot of things we didn't do, that being one of them.
I feel like everybody during COVID came away with some kind of new hobby. Mine was taking care of my lawn. Like before then, the lawn was not a great thing. After then, it was like I had thousands of hours on lawn knowledge.
Good on you for a productive one, because can we be honest? 50% of America's new hobby was masturbation.
That was my old hobby.
Yeah.
And my new hobby, but also my old hobby.
Most of America just started to diddle themselves more. A ridiculous amount of diddling through that time period.
What was that Mitch Hedberg joke where he's like, I think it was do drugs. I was thinking about masturbation, but I think it was do drugs. It was like, I used to do drugs. I still do, but I used to also. That dude was so awesome. You ever check his stuff out? He's got these one-liners, just deadpan, and it's a bunch of like common sense kind of stuff. He's like, this one is like, I went to the store once to buy a candle holder. They didn't have any, so I bought a cake. Or that's the beauty about an escalator. It can never break down. It can only become stairs. Like, sorry for the convenience, which is funny because when I was in Dallas for the professional seminar thing in February, they had escalators that were broke down. They had them roped off. I'm like, they're just stairs. Like, I don't know why you have these roped off, but
because some idiot is going to get on it and stand there until it moves. Some idiot.
I don't think I see that.
Dude, some idiot is going to get on there and stand there until it moves. I shit you not. They will starve themselves. Welcome to
probably right after they build a chicken coop.
What are you referencing? Because I've got 3 references in mind, and it's probably not the same thing. Oh, I know what you're referencing. Build a chicken coop and buy some hats?
Yes.
Okay. All right.
There it is.
Save my business. Shit, Daddy. Dude, you guys doing anything fun this weekend?
No, we are not.
You gotta have a fight.
Right. After the fight, yeah, there's a couple family things that are TBA. We'll see. I think Colin and I might go out and play some golf.
Take him to the aquarium.
Yeah. They're way into fish right now, man. We've been watching Free Willy.
Dude, one of the greatest shows of the 90s.
So the boys like to watch behind the scenes videos on stuff. Like how things were made, how they work. So like anytime there's an animated anything, like the live action, like the Smurfs, right? Where it's like live action movie, but they've got the Smurfs running around, right? They're like, Daddy, can we see how the Smurfs are made? It's like, yep. So we pull it up on YouTube and show them how like the CGI stuff works. So they had some questions about Free Willy. And so the first movie, they did use a real whale. They had a couple kind of like Jaws, the prop whale too, but a lot of it was the real whale swimming around doing the stuff. It was just like the close-up shots where they want to get like the shot of Willie's eyeball winking and stuff that they used the animatronic deal. But for the second and third movie, no real whale at all.
Really?
Yeah. Totally all animatronic. They had different scales, like different size whales to do different stuff. And if you didn't know, you wouldn't know. But once you know, it's like you see little stuff where like the whale is swimming through the ocean, and it literally looks like they're just like, there's no like articulation in the spine and stuff as the whale would normally like kind of bend and flex and do its stuff. But yeah, I've seen both those movies before and I had no idea.
Dude, you just ruined my whole childhood.
Sorry about that.
I don't think you are though. I don't think you are.
Not even a little bit.
Did you show your boys the video of the whales dragging their trainers underwater for 20 minutes at SeaWorld?
No, but one of the trainers that did that was actually this guy that I trained when I worked at the copy place. That was his aunt. She was the one that it happened in like the early 80s or late 70s at SeaWorld. Shamu grabbed her by the hair and took her under the water. She ended up surviving and getting out of there, but it was close, man.
Dude, I'm just telling you this now, though. Maybe she deserved it. All I'm saying is I don't care who you are. You're waving food at me, telling me to do tricks, and I've done the tricks, and you're still waving at me. It's the food I want. It's nice like General Tso chicken or mini chimneys. You know what I'm talking about. It's something I want.
That's funny because I envisioned somebody waving a salmon at you, but yeah, General Tso chicken.
A mini chimney, dude, with a good salsa on it, a little bit of sour cream. You wave that at me and you don't give it to me when I did my trick? I'm not dragging you underwater. I'm taking you to the depths of hell, motherfucker. Like, I'm not coming for your life. I'm coming for your soul.
soul.
Taking you to the river Hades. Let's go. River Styx, I guess. River Styx. Dude,
but the flip side of that is like, let's talk about the balls of the people that do get in those tanks. It's like, the name is killer whale, not sea panda.
It's orca.
For a reason.
Orca?
Killer whale. Did you ever see that movie, Orca, back in the day?
No.
It's like Jaws, but it's a killer whale.
Dude, I have been watching, like, every now and then I get a guilty pleasure going when I'm just worn out, and it's like, I know I need to go out in the garage, finish building the dirt bike and whatever, but I'm worn out. So I'll just scroll. I'll get on YouTube and scroll or whatever. And you know what? One of my guilty pleasure scrollings has been lately, like, oddly enough, watching pods of killer whales strategically hunt seals.
Oh, dude.
The way they break the ice, they cause the waves. Holy shit. I would never get the water with those things.
Yeah. See where like they'll breach and land on an iceberg to tip it and like rush all of the seals off into the water.
Dude.
Have you seen them with like sharks, with gray whites?
Yeah, I saw one the other day.
Where like the killer whale like comes up behind and just grabs the shark by the tail and rolls. Because when you flip sharks like that over upside down, I think it's called tonic, but they basically become paralyzed. They can't move when they're upside down. So the killer whales just sneak up behind it, grab by the tail, and just roll that thing upside down. And then all of a sudden, like 10 killer whales, like boom, attack this thing and just eat the shark to shreds.
The one I saw was it just came up out of the blue, like from underneath. And just like headbutts it, right? They do that to break their spine. Which, by the way, have you watched lion fights? Lions don't frickin' bite each other's neck. They break each other's spines. That's what they go for, is they go for the spine right above the rear hips. And they use their jaws to break each other's spines. That's how lions kill lions. And then they don't kill them. They let them freaking wallow in it for days and weeks until they starve to death.
Let's talk about lions for a second, because another movie the boys been watching is Lion King.
Oh, great. Great.
Right? So, just throwing this out there, like, if you named one of your children, like my boys, right? You got Colin, Peter, and Harrison. Well, let's imagine that I named them Colin, Peter, and Moron, right? What's the likelihood that kid is going to grow up to be a super productive citizen? Probably pretty low if we keep calling him Moron, right? Okay. You named your kids Mufasa and Scar. What did you think?
Yeah,
what did you think Scar was going to grow up to be? Like, because I'm pretty sure he wasn't born with the scar, so that was self-fulfilling prophecy, right? Like, you could have named him like Mufasa and, I don't know, ripped six-pack. No, Scar. You chose Scar.
Well, there's no way you name your child Rafiki and they don't grow up to have a blue ass.
Well, yeah. That actually means blue ass in Malaysian.
Does it?
No.
Well, I didn't know. I don't speak Malaysian.
Me either.
You're always surprising me with the shit you know. You come out and that's why I'm surprised you don't know about the little people in the superstitions.
Yeah, first time I heard about that one.
Watch the link. Oh, man.
I will.
What else? What else is good? What else do the boys have you running around doing?
Dude, I tell you the best thing is, so I've been doing a bunch of stuff on Colin's truck. So we took his truck in. I drove his truck, like, I don't know, the day after he left to basic training or something. And I had to take some tables and chairs back we rented. And it's like, what the hell is the deal with your truck, dude? Like, it's making all sorts of noises and squeaks and rattles and thumps. And so I was pretty sure that it was a control arm. So I went ahead and replaced the control arm. Like, I crawled under there and got my pry bar out. And it's like, yeah, the upper control arm on the passenger side is moving around a bunch. So ordered one up, put the new one in. It still had a little squeak. It's like, well, I'll take it up to the alignment shop and have them look it over. So I drop it off. It's like, hey, I want you to do a full vehicle inspection, check everything out. And my intentions was to just drop it off and say, fix whatever needs fixed. Cool. So they came back with, it's like, oh yeah, it needs this and this and this and this and this. And it's just this laundry list of stuff, right? It's like, okay, well, how much is that stuff? I'm like, it's going to be about $6,500. Like, no, no, it's not. So, and they pissed me off too, because some of the stuff that they said needed to get done was not bad. It's like, they're like, oh yeah, tranny mount shot. It's like, well, I changed the tranny mount out this week. It was fine. The lower control arm on both sides of shots, like one of them was bad. The other one was fine. But, good preventative maintenance anyway to get it done. But for the $6,500 worth of stuff, I bought the parts for like $600 and have pretty much done everything that they said needed to be done. But the thing that really pissed me off was they said that the carrier bearing on the drive shaft needed to be replaced. And they're like, but that drive shaft isn't serviceable. It's like, what do you mean it's not serviceable? Like, oh yeah, it's just an integrated piece and you can't replace it. You need a new drive shaft. It's $1,500.
Like, I can't rebuild the slip yoke or the unit.
Like, yeah, I don't know who you think you're talking to, but I'm not that guy. So they sell the carrier bearing with $60. I bought a carrier bearing. I pulled it out. I pressed the old one off, pressed the new one on, put it back in. Done, right? This thing that said it was going to be $1,500 cost me $60, right? That stuff pisses me off, because if it would have been my grandma or Cassandra or Camille or any other of the hundreds of people I can think of that would have taken their vehicle in, they would have either sold the vehicle or paid to have them fix it, because it's like, oh, well, I guess that's just what you need to have done, right? So I bought the parts. I've been going through and fixing. I've got literally everything done on the punch list. I replaced both upper and both lower control arms. I did the transmission mount. I did the carrier bearing. I did rear shocks. I put wipers on it. I put a new windshield reservoir on it. I got it aligned. What else? A couple of the little things, right? I had the interior detailed for Colin, so it's going to look nice when he gets it. And the last thing I have to do is the motor mounts. But the best thing to come out of that whole deal is Harrison asked the other day, is like, Daddy, can I be outside while you're working on the truck? It's like,
did he paint the truck too?
Not yet. He didn't scratch his name on the side of the truck. But Harrison stayed outside with me for like 6 hours, just laying under the truck and handing me tools and happier than a pig in shit working on a truck. And that night was like, Daddy, can we work on Colin's truck tomorrow? It's like, I can't tomorrow, but absolutely the next time I work on a truck, you're there, dude. He got up on the step stool and was looking in the engine and helped me undo some fasteners, and he was all about it. That was hands down the best part of the month, was my kid getting excited about working on stuff, because I love working on cars. And I got Colin out in the garage a few times when he was real little, and he liked helping out with the dually. And, I showed Colin how to do stuff on his vehicles when he was old enough to drive, and we'd go work on stuff then. But that is one of my favorite things on the planet, is getting to do stuff like that with the boys. Like when they get passionate about something that I'm passionate about, like, oh, game on.
Dude, I love it too. And it's usually Jameson that gets, like my youngest, that gets passionate about it. Anytime I do anything in the garage, he's always down to come out and help. He'll help for like an hour, and then he's like, I'm kind of tired of scrubbing parts. I think I'm going to go see what I can do to put this screw through this piece of wood. And you do that. My tools are yours, right? But I love it. Do you ever, like, here's something I struggle with. Because like you, when they get, like, I'm so passionate. I've been rebuilding this dirt bike, dude. I've had so much fun. And Camille's like, when are you just going to wrap it up? And I'm like, I'm kind of prolonging it because I don't want to. I've had so much fun doing it. Like, I'm kind of prolonging it. But I need to so I can ride the damn thing. And I've got other projects. But, like, I love it so damn much. Sometimes I worry. Like, I do. I lay in bed butt fucking naked, but I've got some New Balances on for some reason.
Your dad, standard issue.
Dong out.
You have a kid, they hand you some jean shorts and some New Balance.
Dude, for real. So I am in bed, New Balances laced up, whole 9 yards, and dong out, And like, I legitimately am like, am I a bad dad? Because it's hard for me to get as excited about some of the things that excite them as like I am when they get excited about what excites me, you know? I don't know. Do you ever think about that? Does that ever cross your mind or?
Oh yeah, dude. Colin, I have a genuine disdain for soccer. Like I have some real deep rooted resentment. I played 1 year of soccer when I was like 6 years old, and it was honeybee soccer, just a swarm of kids wherever the ball goes. Right?
Made you play backup goalie, didn't they?
No, worse. We scored 2 goals the whole season, and 1 was against ourselves. I can either confirm or deny, but it might have been me that kicked the ball in the wrong goal. But I just,
What are you doing?
I hate soccer. The core of my being, right? Soccer and gymnastics. Like when people ask me, what are you not good at? Soccer and gymnastics. Those are the ones. Like I am terrible at those things. So the soccer thing, I kind of shit talked it a little bit to Colin when he was little. And it was like, yeah, you can play whatever you want, man. Baseball, football, basketball, racing, whatever, just not soccer, cool. And I'd say like kind of tongue in cheek, and he's like, okay. And he never really had a desire to play soccer. So when Colin was a sophomore in high school, he's split in time between the varsity and the junior varsity baseball team as a sophomore. And baseball was this kid's life from like 5th grade on. He played baseball year round and was really good at it and loved doing it. And at some point, he kind of fell out of love with baseball. And I think a lot of that has to do with there were some kids on his team that did not get along with the coaches. And I think Colin was kind of sticking up for his friends. But he basically said that the coach was a dickhead. He's like, I don't want to play for that guy. Okay, so he comes home in the middle of summer. He's got like 3 weeks left in summer baseball going into his junior year in high school. And he's like, yeah, I decided that I'm done with baseball. I'm going to quit on Monday. I talked to Shiloh. It's a stepmom. I talked to Shiloh and she said it was okay. And I'm like, oh, did she? Okay, great. Why don't you come into the bedroom and you and mom and I are going to have a little chat. Powwow. It's like, okay. So first of all, let me ask you a couple questions. Is anybody hurting you on the baseball team? Your coaches, players, and I'm talking like physically, mentally, emotionally, sexually, anybody abusing you or hurting you? And he's like, no. I'm like, good. I'm glad you said that. You're not quitting fucking baseball on Monday. And he's like, what? And I'm like, it's like, now, if somebody was hurting you, Colin, different story. We're out. Game over. But if they're not, it's like you made a commitment to the coaches and your friends, and most importantly to yourself, that you were going to do this thing. There's only 3 weeks left. You're going to be with your dad for a week and a half of those 3 weeks, right? And his dad lived like 2 hours from us. So life ceased to exist when he went there. He didn't do homework. He didn't participate in sports, nothing. It was like his vacation home that was 2 hours away. So I'm like, this is what you're going to do. Like, not until the season's over, but immediately after the last game, you go have a conversation with Coach Eddie. Right? And he loved Coach Eddie. Coach Eddie wasn't the problem. Coach Eddie, funny enough, was a kid that is a man now, but he's a kid that I coached at the Boys and Girls Club when he was like 8 years old. Flash forward 20 years later, he's my son's high school baseball coach. Right? So I'm like, this is what you're going to do. You're going to have a conversation man to man, eyeball to eyeball with your coach. And you're going to explain to him that you have some other stuff that you want to do. Here's what you're not going to do. You're not going to send him an email or a text message or leave a voicemail or have your mommy communicate to him. You're going to talk to him. And you're going to tell him, just like we said, Coach, I have some other things that I want to do. He's like, okay. So he did that. It's like, but you're going to finish the season. After you finish the season, Colin, I don't give a shit if you ever play baseball ever again. It's like, do I love watching you play baseball? Yes. 100%. I do. I love going to games. I love watching you practice. I love seeing you hit the batting cages. It's like, but if you don't love it, I'm okay with you not doing it after you complete your commitment. Never play again after this date. That's your choice. Everybody stops doing stuff at some point. Not a problem. But the other thing is, if you quit baseball, you're going to do something else in high school. Getting a job doesn't count. Having a girlfriend doesn't count. Something extracurricular at school that's going to help keep him honest and keep his grades on track. And he graduated with like a 3.8 GPAs. Smart kid. But you're going to do something else year round. Okay. So first semester, well, first of all, Colin has a conversation with Coach Eddie, explains to him what's going on. Eddie's like, hey, you know what, man? And Eddie played semi-pro baseball. He's like, dude, I get it. I did the same thing in high school. It's like, I took a semester off of baseball because I wanted to do some other sports. I wanted to try some other stuff. He's like, but I really appreciate you coming and talking to me the way you did, because a lot of kids would have just quit in the middle of the season and not said anything. So Colin left that door open. Cool. First semester, he was on the varsity golf team. He got to play golf for free for like 5 months. He had a blast doing it. Second semester rolls around. It's like, hey, so what are you going to do this semester? He's like, oh, I'm going to do the video game club. And I'm like, oh, I should have put parameters on this. But, yeah, that's an extracurricular thing at school, I guess. Okay. So
Grand Theft Auto, 3 hours a day. It's practice.
Oh, you would think so. That's what Colin was thinking. Colin goes off to the first meeting for the video game club, and he comes home and he's like, I think I might try out for the soccer team. And I'm like, why? He's like, well, you know how I told you I was going to do video game club? Like, yeah. He's like, I thought it would be like, high school video games, Grand Theft Auto, Call of Duty, Modern Warfare's like, Dad, these kids played Mario Kart for 3 hours and they were freaking psyched about it. I'm like, oh, understood. He's like, so I want to go try out for the soccer team. And I'm like, okay. Here's the thing though. Colin is super, super gifted, just a natural athlete. And he is liquid fast. I mean, always was the fastest kid on his baseball team ever. And so I tried explaining to him, it's like, okay, well, you know how you grew up playing Little League Baseball, and then we played Pony, and then we got into the club teams, and like, we got you lessons. Like, Colin took hitting lessons from this guy, Tony, that was the hitting coach for the Diamondbacks the year they won the World Series. Like, when my kid needed help with something, I got him the best possible help that I could get him, right? It's like, so, you kind of were groomed to go on this track to work your way into playing high school baseball, right? It's like, yeah. So, well, there's another group of kids in Arizona that have been doing the same kind of work, but playing soccer. It's like, I don't know why they would waste their time doing that, but they have been. So I don't want you to think that you're just going to walk in and be a stud at this thing, because it's as much crap as I give it. It's like, you do have to be good. Like, you have to have natural athletic ability, and you have to have some coaching and there's some skill to it. And he's like, okay, now I'm positive Colin could have walked on to a team, like maybe the JV team, just because he has so much raw athletic ability, right? And he probably would have been faster than any kid on the soccer team. So he talks to Cassandra about doing the soccer thing. Cassandra talks to me and says, hey, Colin needs to get a bunch of equipment for soccer. And I'm like, no, he doesn't. It's like, oh yeah, no, he needs shin guards and knee pads and a ball and cleats. And I'm like, has Colin ever stepped foot on a field yet? Ever? And she's like, no. I'm like, do not buy that kid anything for soccer until he's at least gone through tryouts. It's like, now, the moment he's through tryouts and he's on a team, buy him whatever he needs. But don't buy him any soccer shit until we know that he's going to play soccer. Okay, so she went out and spent like $250 on soccer shit. And Colin went to one open field practice before tryouts, and he came home and I was like, how was soccer? He's like, I think I'm going to go back to video game club. Oh no. Like, what happened? He's like, I ran around on the field for 3 hours. I did not touch the ball one time. It's like, it did not come within 10 feet of me for the entire 3 hours. I ran around. I don't know why. I don't know where I was going. He's like, it was horrible. I was like, that's what I've been telling you since you were like 5. Soccer sucks, dude. So, but that being said, if my kid would have ended up playing soccer, I would have learned everything that I could have learned about soccer to help him and to at least understand what he was passionate about and working through. But good Lord, I'm glad he didn't play soccer. And then in the spring, what did he do in the spring? Spring, he played tennis. But the most important thing was when summer rolled around, towards the end of summer, he was like, hey, can I talk to you about something? Like, yeah, what's up? He's like, kind of want to play baseball again. Would that be okay? I was like, yeah, of course. Why would that not be okay? Well, I quit. And I was like, you did, but you did it the right way. It's like you left the door open. You didn't shit all over those guys and say, fuck you, I'm out. It's like you went and had a conversation with them like a man and eyeball to eyeball and told them what you were going to do, and you did those things. But you left the door open so you could walk back through it in case something like this happened. It's like, so how you handle things has consequences and it's got rewards too. So he ended up playing baseball. He played fall ball and spring ball his senior year and got, it's called the Bronco Award at the end of the year, which is like it's the player selected most valuable player for the program. So like all of his peers called him out as being the most valuable because he was never the best player on the team. He was always one of the very good players on the team. But there was always kids that had, they're better at pitching or better at hitting or whatever. But it was a good payoff at the end, So kind of working through watching your kid play something that I love baseball. I played baseball growing up. But yeah, watch him do that and then get into stuff that I didn't play growing up. I played golf, but tennis was new for me. And as long as he was enjoying it, I was enjoying it. The video game club thing, do you, boo-boo? But
I thought you were going to say Tetris or something. Which,
I wish.
Dude, right now, worldwide, like, Tetris is highly competitive.
Have you seen the movie about Tetris? How that came to be? It was on Netflix. But basically this dude that was working for the Russian government.
Tell me about this. I'm listening. I'm going to talk my drink off.
Deal.
I'm listening.
We'll take turns. You do that, and then I'll do mine. So this dude worked for the Russian government, computer programmer guy, created this game, and this guy somehow somebody got a copy of it and got out of Russia and with the copy of it, and then started selling the rights to the game to different video game companies, right? So there was different types of rights. It's kind of like music rights. Like there's performance rights and rights to arrange and sync rights for video stuff. So they sold one set of rights to like 5 different people. And those rights all basically said that person had the right to the video game. And so long story short, they ended up helping to extradite the guy that developed the game to the United States. Nintendo had a lot to do with that. And so they got that dude out. And that's what made the Game Boy take off and really gave Nintendo a huge market share was that game in particular. But it's pretty cool movie.
Dude. Isn't it crazy how most of the good things in life are born out of scandal? Like, what baby was ever born without a daddy bending a mommy over?
Me, actually.
Right out of the petri dish?
No, immaculate conception. So it's my theory that my dad
Mary
looked at my mom one time.
Mary let the spirit go.
My dad looked at my mom and went, and that was it. Baby. And it happened one other time, almost 5 years to the day later, and that was my sister. He winked with the other eye.
Dude, that's some Latino stuff. Latina stuff.
So I feel like one of the best things.
Before you say this, just so you know, almost every conversation I've ever got in a fight with my wife about started with her saying the words, I feel like.
That's fair.
So where are we going with this?
This is a positive, I feel like.
Okay.
Having a small mini bar worth of liquor in the office makes me feel like I'm in Mad Men. Like, because all of the jobs that I ever had before I opened my agency, that wouldn't fly.
No. Dude, when I first started
working at the Boys and Girls Club, probably not. Working at a Fortune 500 company, probably not. But working for Peter Wood, yeah, cool. What, you want rum, whiskey, Scotch? What's your jam?
Dude, I'm not keeping it at the office at this. I buy what I need for the moment, and that's it, because I have control issues, and let's call a spade a spade. So I'm working on that. But I mean, you know me, for as long as you've known me up until recently, I keep $5,000, $6,000, $7,000 worth of liquor at the office. Now, I remember when I first started bringing liquor to the office, it was like, let me buy a bottle of Jameson, and I'm going to hide it behind the books on the bookshelf because I can't have my team seeing this. They're going to think I'm devious. They're going to think I'm a miscreant, and I'm supposed to cut paychecks. I need to garner their faith, trust, and hope in me.
Turns out, as long as you got the paychecks, they don't care.
They didn't care. Ain't that the truth?
Nope.
Ain't that the truth?
All right, so I have questions for you.
This is my podcast. You shut the fuck up.
No, it's the A2P podcast, according to Peter. Remember? We covered this at the very beginning.
Let's do it.
Like sometimes you don't listen when I talk. So what made you decide to start Rev?
A combination of a lot of things. I really like helping other business owners, especially insurance agents, because that's my niche, right? Life insurance agents. I find a lot of fulfillment in it. And I was coaching. I was doing one-on-one coaching, $1,000 a month for weekly one-on-ones. I had 32 people, and I was tapped. Like, that was all my energy. And some people are like, oh my God, that's $32,000 a month. Quick math, right? But that $32,000 a month, approximately $360,000 a year, that was like the smallest portion. It was taking 3/4 of my time, 75% of my time, and it was
80-20 rule.
Yeah, it wasn't even 20% of my income. I'm like, what am I doing? Right? So Rev was born as a mastermind out of necessity because I loved it, but at the same time, it was killing me for time and energy to be that intimate one-on-one with people that often. Like you're carrying the cross with them, and it was just too much, right? So I needed to find a way that was more scalable, not just membership and money and whatever, but energy. How do we scale the energy? How do we scale the education? How do we scale the culture? How do we, that? So there was that side of it. Another side was always like this chip that's been on my shoulder that, when I was younger, several years ago, and when I first started coaching people, I was really pissed. Even when we first launched this, I was still like getting over that anger at what I didn't get when I was a new agent, when I was new in business, that it kind of muddied the water and I couldn't focus on what I did get. And what I did get was incredible. What I did get is it's not the only reason, but without it, I wouldn't have made it in this business. What I did get was insufficient though, but it wasn't by any fault of the people that were around me. I just sucked that bad. I was the worst life insurance agent and financial services provider that ever existed. I hold true to that.
Until this guy popped on the scene.
But like,
looking at you, Camille.
That was it. She doesn't listen to these. They're too damn long.
Perfect.
But no, I was pissed about it. And to a degree, I still am pissed. I don't blame it on those individuals at this point. Like, nobody was equipped to help me with what I needed. I had to help me with what I need. Maybe that's a fucking thing people ought to learn, is like, maybe nobody's equipped to help anybody until that person is willing to help themselves, But yeah, so it was like, how can I change that? Because it's so damn prevalent. 92% of all insurance agents fail in their first 24 months. Of that 92%, at least half of those left jobs or careers that were paying their bills before, only to go bankrupt in this business. At least half. We're talking about hundreds of thousands of people per year, right? And it's heartbreaking because leaving the automotive sector and coming over here, like, I went from stable job, making good money, every weekend I'm out on the dirt bikes and the ATVs, to, I'm working a ton and stressing even more. I was so stressed. I literally had sores running down my throat and my esophagus for like 12 months solid. And like, doctors couldn't figure, they're like, we don't get why it was just stress. Right. And it breaks my heart. Like, I almost lost my house, almost lost my wife. If I had lost my wife, I wouldn't have a relationship with my boys. That relationship, Peter, I love you to death, man, but I would put you in a fucking ditch for my boys. I would shit down your neck for that. I would do all the grossest, weirdest things to you for my boys, just so we're clear. And, I wouldn't have any of that. And, it breaks my heart to know that other people are in that position, and maybe they're not as resilient as I was. And maybe with just a little extra help, they can be. Like, they can catch that fire, right? That's why we do this. That's why we started it. A little bit of a chip on the shoulder, a little bit of empathy, and that's it.
That's awesome, man. I love that. I had a different initial experience than I think most agents do, because the guy, I told you before, Cliff, the guy that brought me into the business, like, I couldn't have paid for a better mentor, and role model, and just a great human being, right? And that's one of the things that I think really set that guy apart was, the carrier that he was working for. They had this big push for general agents, like, you need to put more people on, you need to get more agents under you on the books. He just would not do it. He was like, no, I am going to bring people in the right way for them to be successful. And if I don't think they're going to be successful, I'm not going to bring them in, because he understood, and Bruce, the guy that I'm under now, they both understand that when you bring somebody into the business, you are disrupting their life, and not just them, but if they have a family, their family's life too. Like, Cliff put me through, no joke, I went through like 9 interviews with that dude before he finally made me an offer. And I had to bring Cassandra with me on one of them, right? And then I asked him why that was later on. And he was like, well, honestly, he's like, it's twofold. Number one is, I think it's important that your spouse know really what you're getting yourself into and what this thing's going to look like. And it's going to be lean for a few years, right? Things are going to be lean while you're getting stuff started and going. But once you get the machine cranked up, things are going to be good, right? As long as you do the work. The other thing says, I want to know what your home life looks like a little bit, because if you're married to a crazy person, then I know that I'm never going to get 100% out of you, ever. So it's both of those things. It's what's fair to your spouse and your family, and it's what's fair to me, investing the time and energy into, and knowing that, if I knew that I was only ever going to get 50% out of you, I wouldn't move forward with you. I was like, yep. But there are managers out there and organizations out there that are just throwing crap at the wall to see what sticks. And it's like, man, you understand that you took this person away from whatever, and granted, they didn't just go recruit this person away from whatever they had, right? Something was going on with that person for them to even consider looking at a career change in the first place, right? But they start looking at it and it's like, oh yeah, the grass is greener over here. This is where I need to go. And they go that route and they stay there for 6, 9, 12 months. And now they've cooked through their savings and they have to push the reset button again a year later. It's like that doesn't do anything good for anybody. Those people that did trust that person to be clients, within 12 months are getting a letter saying like, hey, yeah, I know that, you signed up to do insurance with Tom, but Tom's not here anymore. So now you're dealing with Peter. It's not good for anybody to bring people in that aren't well prepared and prepped to do that thing. And at least the guys that I work with that I've been fortunate to work with that brought me into the business, they were able to provide me with every single resource and opportunity that I needed to be successful. And if I was not successful, it was nobody's fault but mine. But I know that that's not the norm. That is not the norm. The first time I went to a company-sponsored training, I went to Ag and Commercial School back in Albany. There's a room of like 20 of us, right? Melvin Young was in that group too. And so, what's that?
Melvin's a good dude.
Yeah, he is. So Melvin wasn't a general agent yet. he was just a brand new agent, right? He's in like his 6 months as an agent. But as we were going through and talking, it's like a lunch session and people were like, hey, tell me about your MLGA. And it's like, I can't stand that guy. I can't get a hold of him. He's never in the office. He's always out golfing. He said, if he goes on a joint case with me, he's going to get 90% of the commission. I get 10%. I mean, it was just like this, just horror story after horror story after horror story. And they get around to me. They're like, what about you? I'm like, my guy's cool. I share an office with him. He's like 10 steps from my office. And he goes on cases with me. When I go on appointments by myself, I come back to the office and he goes over the appointment with me and we talk about options and opportunities and things to talk to him about. And it's like, I don't know. But yeah, I know my situation wasn't the norm. And
I got a lot of that. I just sucked that bad. I got a lot of that. The guys that brought me in really, really aren't bad guys. They're actually really good guys. And you know, I probably said some shit that I shouldn't have about them. And they really are good guys. They were not equipped to help me. I'm a fucking moron. But yeah, I got a lot of that. But you're right. It's not the norm.
Yeah. Yep. Yeah. I mean, I can think of a handful of MLGAs that are phenomenal. I mean, like salt of the earth, kind of like I would follow that guy off a cliff kind of people, but that's not the majority of them. Yeah. You know, unfortunately. And some of it is they're trying to maximize their contracts to make things work. And some of it is, I saw there's probably been 7 just in Arizona since I've been an agent that have already come and gone. And most of them, it's like, man, those guys had no business being an agent, let alone being in charge of other agents. They'd show up and it was like, yeah, that dude's not going to last. There's no way. No way. So, which is why I think the Rev thing is such a cool thing. It's a support network and a training program in a box. It's not just the ins and outs of insurance. It really is. It's a family. It gets you off the island of misfit toys, where I think the path of a solopreneur can be a very lonely path, but it doesn't have to be. It doesn't have to be, and that's the thing. That's the thing that I think makes the Rev community so much different. Is it's the community part. Like I look at other insurance Facebook groups, right? And I say groups and not community intentionally, because it's not a community. It's a group. It's just a bunch of people that said, yeah, I want to be here. And, when you, as an outsider, when I go in and try to provide value and just help, because people are asking in those groups, they are looking for Rev. They just don't know that they're looking for Rev. Right? They're looking for that support network and that community. And so when you go in and you provide value and you're like, hey, this is where you find the answer. And all of a sudden it's like, we're going to put you in a Facebook timeout for 30 days because you answered this person's question the way they asked it. Wait a second. It's like, what's the actual end game here? Is it to help people or is it to shill your product? Right? Yeah. I think that's one of the coolest things about the Rev stuff, dude, is that it's the community part. When I'm going through stuff, like I know that I can call anybody in that group. So, and vice versa. I know a lot of them call me with stuff. So,
dude, I know that's one of the coolest things I'm looking for this thing. I'm going to show it. I'm going to show everybody, because it's going to make everybody bust up. Most of all, it'll make you bust up. But the thing that's always impressed me the most is, like, you've got some Liberty Mutual agent in freaking New York that's like, hey, I've never sold an index universal life policy before, but I have an appointment for one in 15 minutes. I'm panicking. Is there anyone that can help? And, puts a 911 out, and in 3 minutes or less, that person's got an American National agent, a Farmers agent, 3 independents, everyone in different places, some of them in different countries, all on the phone. Like, okay, here's what you need to do. And here's the coolest part of it. Nobody's getting an overwrite.
Nope.
Nobody wants to recruit you. Nobody's getting an overwrite. Like, that's, to me, the most satisfying part of all of it is just like, it doesn't exist anywhere else, anywhere. Like, even other groups, like you say, it's literally like, you know, you'll ask that same question in other groups and they're like, shoot me a message and let's talk. And then you talk and it's like, okay, yeah, I can help you and everything, but you're going to need to get contracts underneath me. It's like, you fucking prick ass bitch. You little stupid ass. You little 2+2 not knowing what the fuck it is. And it drives me nuts. It doesn't exist. So I'm having a hard time finding this. I know what I want to show you, Peter. I know what
I know what you want to show me too. I don't know that it's appropriate for a podcast, but
I'm not going to show you my pee-pee.
Again.
No, I can't believe how inappropriate you are. Now I've got to scroll through the images because now I know it's in the image.
Are you looking through our text thread?
No, but I am scrolling through these images and I did come across this image of or a video of an animation of some guy in a black shirt, skinnier than he needs to be, hooking a tackle box to a fishing pole.
Yeah, dude. That's good stuff, right?
And throwing the whole fishing pole out there.
You don't throw everything in the tackle box all at the one problem, Carson. You pick the appropriate bait, the appropriate lure.
And there's Reese dripping in a freaking hot tub. I don't know why that made it into the, holy cow. Reese drips.
Yes, he does. Yes, he do.
Drippy Reese. Oh, this is going to take a minute. I'm only back to early last year at this point. Jeez. Stall for me, Peter. Stall for me.
All right.
Oh, I'm back to where I was in the basement. So we're getting close. We're not close. We're about to have.
You know what I think is crazy is how many people since I've joined Rev, how many people are not in the insurance industry anymore? Like, it's wholesale changes, man.
Dude, we had a cancellation out of Rev this week that hurt my heart a little bit. Not it didn't hurt my heart because he canceled. Like, we don't need the $50 a month. He's out of the business. I'll just say his name is Matt. He was at the first RevCon. You probably, I don't know if you remember him. Super nice dude. Matt G.
Yep.
He's out. He's out. We just got that early this week. Oh my God, I found it. You want to see the first meme ever dropped in the Winning at Insurance group?
Yep.
This is how I launched this group. Did you see that? I'm going to tag you at Peter Wood. I had 2 people like that post.
That's funny.
Dude,
that's another crazy thing. Like, when I look at the post, when I look at the engagement in the different groups that you have set up, it's nuts, dude. Like, there's this, I'm trying to remember what group it is, but I accepted an invite to some insurance marketing Facebook group, right? And the gal that runs the group, the gal that put together the page, really is trying. Like, legitimately is trying to get some good stuff going and having good conversation. And I really do feel like she's trying to bring value without expectations. And it is like crickets, man. Like, she'll put
this.
I don't remember off the top of my head.
Who is it? You can say we're not going to get sued.
No, I honestly can't remember. But it's, let's see here. Not that one. It's not that one.
I love that language, but let me stall for you. I love that language, by the way. You know what's cool? You know what's like super... It's not an ego thing. It's just gratifying in the sense of like, that's what this freaking industry needed, is this terminology. I'm just going to say it. This sounds like big-headed, and it's because I've got big heads. Is this value without expectations.
Yeah. This
industry has been starving for it. And I feel like you've been a big part of that, by the way. We've kicked that off. Like, I'm not going to say it didn't exist. It wasn't mainstream. It's becoming more mainstream. It's becoming more cultural. That's what's really cool to see right now, is some of the culture shift happening, literally tied to the exact fucking verbiage. Like, I could have copyrighted and trademarked that shit. And not just me, but the folks that have come up through this through the last few years. It's just cool to know, like, when it's that exact verbiage, you know, like, there's just so many things that get posted in other groups or this or that or the other. It's like, that came from what we're doing.
Yeah.
It's cool.
Yep.
And it's people that aren't even attached to us. I've never even heard of them. But yet they're using that exact verbiage, that tonality, that context. It's like, damn, we are
making a difference.
Freaking tens of thousands of people, maybe hundreds of thousands. I don't know.
Yeah.
But cool.
So it's the Insurance Marketing Social Coverage Collective.
I don't think I'm part of that one.
I don't think you are either. But there's 727 members in this group, right? Just rolling through posts. 1 like, 4 likes, 2 likes, 1 like, 1 like, no likes, 3 likes.
Dude, Peter, that's the fucking thing people don't realize. They're like, oh, I'm going to get on social media. Like, I'm making hundreds of thousands of dollars per year off of social media at this point. I think in the next 12 months, I think I'll break 7 figures per year on social media. Okay. And that's not Facebook or anyone paying me. That's my target audience finding me and asking to do business. Right. But I've been at this. It's not just like since 2021 when I launched that group. Like, how many times do I go back and tag some freaking video I did when my hair was 6 inches long and in my face in 2018? I was still rocking that emo scene, like, ooh, cut my wrists and black my eyes.
If you were a Disney movie, you'd be fighting emo.
Dude. And I tagged that from like 2018, 2014. Like, I have been at this even before I had this harebrained idea to start this. And before I even knew what the algorithm was, I was pumping the algorithm. I was posting 3, 4, 5 times a week. And so like agents come in and they're like, well, I'm going to work social media. That's cool. Motherfucker, you're not. You're not going to feed your family with it. It might not take you 10 years because you're better at it than I am, and you're more likable, and I'm a douche, and you're beautiful, and I'm ugly, and like all these things. So maybe it only takes you
Smart, I'm dumb. You're great, I'm up.
Yeah, exactly. But how the fuck are you buying Duck Donuts for the next 2 years? You got to do something else while you do this, you know? Because that's
the thing with the Facebook stuff, the social media stuff in general is like, I always looked at it as it's passive marketing, right? It's just a reminder that I still do this.
Yeah.
Right. 10, almost 11 years in the business. Do you know how many people I talk to, friends, family, that ask, are you still doing the insurance thing? It's like, the insurance thing. Do you mean the business that I've had for the last 11 years? Yes, I'm still doing the insurance thing, right? And that's what social media does, is it just reminds my friends and family, like, hey, this is how I feed my family. This is what I do. And I can do that while helping you, right? Like, it doesn't have to be, you know, and you can support me by just telling your friends that this is what I do. You know, you don't even have to buy anything from me. Just when I post something and you think it has value, share it.
Like, don't buy my shit. Get your friends to buy my shit.
Buy my shit.
No, it's
subliminal messaging. Yeah, it's the tech. Buy. To my shit.
Buy my shit. Do. No.
I know what we're doing for RevCon 2024.
Whatever. Dude, we're not doing RevCon.
Buy my shit remix.
We're not doing RevCon 24. That's an official decision.
Yeah, I kind of figured because it's almost April.
No, we're not doing it. And I've had some people asking lately, so I need to come out and make a big announcement. But like, people don't realize we put on these live events. It's like DTDW. We took in officially $62,000. It officially costed $152,000. Typical RevCon will bring in 80, 90. Typical RevCon.
Okay, in all fairness, though, DTDW, what people don't know is you did pay for my travel to and from DTDW. I mean, that was...
But I did make you buy in and out. Dude, I'm still going to get you for DTDW. People don't like RevCon. We bring in 80 to 100. It costs us $250,000. Like, people don't realize, like, the fact that DTDW was $197 to come to that, or $300 or whatever. Like, if you average that out, like our attendees versus what we spent, we're talking like $500-600 a person. I've been subsidizing that out of my own pocket, and I can't do it anymore because it's like, for years now, I've been taking food and opportunity off of not my tape. I give a fuck. Look, this body can consume itself for a minute. It's my boys.
Yeah.
I told you. And I'll tell it to everybody else. I'll put you all on a fucking ditch for my boys. And if that hurts your feelings, you're not part of my crew anyways.
Yeah, I love the crap out of your kids, man.
Like, if you're not part of my crew, like, if that bugs you, go fucking hang with, I won't say who, but
somebody else.
Go hang with the not 92%. And that's how it is. So, like, I don't need to get rich off this. I need to break even off it so that I can bring home a paycheck from the other things I do. That's it. So yeah, no RevCon this year until we hit, it's like 350 to 400 members in the paying groups. I'm not going to do that. And dude, we have closed the gap by 50% in 8 weeks. The 8 weeks since DTDW, the distance between where we were at and where we needed to be, we've closed that gap by 50%. We've done more in 8 weeks than we did in the last 12 consecutive months.
Did Cameron tell you what I promised Glenn if he upgraded from Revel to Rush?
Was it a coffee crisp?
I told
a rimmer.
Cam called. I was talking to Cam earlier this week, and he was like, "Hey, I'm going to talk to these couple people about maybe moving up in the coaching program to the next level." And Glenn's name came up, and I said, "Listen, this is what you tell Glenn. You tell him that if he moves from Revel to Rush, I can guarantee his car is going to make more horsepower and he's going to win more car shows. Guaranteed." And so Cam's talking to him and he's like, "Okay, it was more horsepower. What else?" Like, win more car shows. He's like, "Okay, cool." So Glenn gets signed up, right? So then I get a screenshot from both of them and Glenn's like, "So where do I find this more horsepower?" I'm like, "It's in the modules."
Yes. Yes. Oh, dude.
The modules.
Yeah, so fun. Hey, where would I look? It's in the modules.
Oh, shoot. It's good stuff.
Nope. You know what I'm fighting with a little bit right now?
What's that?
I'm working really hard at it. And I feel like I've kept a good attitude so far. I'm fighting really hard with how much money and time and energy, blood, sweat, and tears, how far I put my own career back, my family's financial progression for this thing, to have an individual or two literally steal fucking verbatim shit they didn't even pay for, their manager paid for, and go resell that as a coach when they didn't even use it to be successful. They never fucking figured it out, but now they're going to coach someone else how to do it. I'm fighting it a little bit, dude. I'm trying to keep a really good attitude about it. It's in the fucking modules. I literally remember saying this in the original modules, like, I'm not worried about teaching you all these things. You're not going to compete with me because you're not going to outwork me. You're not going to show up more often. You're not going to be more consistent. Like, you're not. And I still believe that to my fucking core this day. Like, I'm not worried about giving away the secret sauce because nobody's going to use it like I am. But there's this piece of me because we have blood, sweat, and tears this thing for years now. And to have somebody that is like, oh, I'm your best friend. And then,
Yeah, I do know. And that's I struggle with that too, because it's like, the big thing is like, you didn't even make this thing work. And you're going to turn around and tell other people how to make this thing work that you didn't make work.
Well, not only did you not make it work, you weren't even willing to invest in yourself with this. You made someone else pay to invest in you, and then you didn't do the work. And now you're going to teach somebody about the work you didn't do from the education, collaboration, and accountability you didn't even fucking pay for in the first place. Peter paid for the first half, and yeah, you get what I'm saying.
You're making me feel vulnerable. Slurp. Yeah, that was one of the things, like, early on with the community, was there were people that for one reason or another were not a good fit in the Rev community.
Right.
And I probably had 7-10 of them reach out to me. I mean, like, and I'm talking within the first 6 to 12 months of me being in Rev. And it's like, "Hey, the Rev thing isn't working for me, but I'd like you to be my coach. Like, would you consider?" And it's like, "Hey, look, I am honored that you would come talk to me about that. I don't feel right taking don't feel right taking that away from this thing. It's like, I'm sorry. I think the answer is already here, and the systems and everything that you're looking for already exists. Like, I don't feel right about doing that. Sorry. I talked to you about those as those came up, but it's like, different people being wired different ways. Because I'm like, yeah, no, this is, I mean, it's a loyalty thing, but it's an integrity thing too. Like, no, dude, thanks, but no thanks.
That integrity pays forward too. So like, people don't realize. So in 2020, I had a business partner who wrote a bunch of business underneath me. Like, he was my partner, but all of our contracts were based on me and my production, right? So it's all underneath me. And in our business, people don't realize, like, shit rolls uphill, right? So he wrote a bunch of business. It all canceled, about $100,000 in commissions he didn't pay for. So that rolled up to me. I had to pay it back. And I could have let that roll up to carriers and done it. I went and paid it back. I took care of the carriers. I took care of the brokerages and all the people above me. And it wasn't my responsibility, but I paid it back. Well, I did it because I felt like, I vouched for this person. So, what's their responsibility is my responsibility and whatever. So paid it back. Year later, 2 years later, I was in a little bit of a pinch, and, some of those carriers, some of those groups came back and they were like, you know what? We remember what you did for us. Let's go ahead and bump your contract by 30%. Now for the same work, you make 30% more. For every $1,000 you were making before, here's $1,300. For every
$100
before, here's $130,000. But same work. Changed my life in a lot of ways. Literally Tuesday. Got on the phone with somebody. I'm working out an issue. It's not an issue. It's not like, oh, I can't pay my bills or the type of issue, but it's like, man, we need more out of the work we're doing, So I called this guy to pick his brain. That was it. I didn't call to ask anything. I was like, can I just pick your brain a little bit? Called him and was picking his brain. He's like, you did something for me about a year ago. You didn't have to do it, but you did it. And he's like, you released me from a contract that was costing me about $5,000 a month. You released me from it, and you didn't have to. You shouldn't have. In fact, like, I even remember telling you don't. And you were so hard about it. You were like, no, just like, let's call this contract good. It's fulfilled, be done. Let's move on with life. He's like, you did that. You didn't have to. He's like, so what if I did this for you? What he's offered, we haven't hooked him up on it yet, but what he's offered is going to take my placement rate on a couple lines of business from 20% to he's already placing on that same business. He's placing at 65%. It takes my commission from where we're at and tax on about 50% on top of that. So for the same amount of work, I close 3 times more business and I get paid 50% more for every piece of business I close.
Yeah.
Because I let him off the hook on a few $1,000s a month.
Because the universe is reciprocal.
I think it is, dude. I know it is.
Yep.
But people are too fucking greedy. Like, people are so goddamn hungry for a goddamn bologna sandwich. They can't just hold out. Just wait. If here's a bologna sandwich now, or if you'll leave it alone, I'll give you steak for dinner. And then they wonder why they spend their whole life eating fucking bologna. And it's not a mystery. It's just math. You did the wrong shit, dumbass motherfucker, little stupid bitch. As Kevin Hart would say, cross-eyed, crawling down your back, fat foot ass bitch. I don't know.
Yeah, I think reciprocity is something that a lot of people don't get. It's like it's funny because Cassandra every once in a while will be like, we did the training with Brian a couple weeks ago or last week, whatever. And, she's always mindful of what we have coming in and what kind of business I have on the table. And she's like, okay, so you're spending how much time on this thing and what's it going to yield? And it's like, well, number one, the yield is, it's good for my heart. Sharing that information, I legitimately, I love teaching and helping people. Love it, and that was one of the things that when my business finally took off, that was one of the things that I gave up teaching drums, and spoiler alert, really fucking good at teaching drums. Like, really good. And, you know, I've taught some of the best groups on the planet and have a drumstick sponsorship and like really good. And I love doing it. But for me, the drum stuff was never about drums, right? That was just the tool that I used to help turn people into better people, right? It was, and in this case, it was high school kids, right? It was how I helped develop high school kids into being good, productive humans, right? I just used drums as the vehicle to deploy the message, right?
Right.
Which is what I did the Boys and Girls Club.
Good person, like beating your stick against some stretched skin.
The vibrations, that's what really brings it out in you.
Is that Beach Boys? Is that Beach Boys or Beatles?
Good vibrations, Beach Boys.
Good vibrations.
I think that one might have been Marky Mark. Feel it, feel the vibration. Good vibrations. Come on. Yeah. I'm not sure if that was Marky Mark or the Funky Bunch, but it was one of the two for sure, maybe both.
Not to be confused with.
Ever tell you about that?
No, don't.
Super quick. So Cassandra was going in she had to have a different procedure done, and they were going to do a colonoscopy and an endoscopy at the same visit, right?
Is she going to appreciate you telling this story?
I don't know. We'll find out. She's not going to watch this and, you know, what are we at? 2.5 hours in. Here's the thing. They did an endoscopy and a colonoscopy in the same visit. And I'm like, hey, do you think at any point, like, they did this? And she's like, you're stupid. Like, I know it. Anyway, back to the subject at hand. I love teaching, right? And so Cassandra will point out, like, go Devils. Cassandra will point out how much time I spend with different stuff like that. And it's like, yeah, I get that. But along the way, I helped this person learn how to do these things, and they closed this stuff that helped their family. And I helped this person learn how to do this stuff, and they closed these types of policies, which put dinner on the table for that family and helped the other family that they sold the policy to, right? It's like, my reach becomes exponential when I help explain to other people what it is that I do and how I do it. It's like, now nobody can do it the way I do it, right? But I can give them all of the tools and resources for them to do the best possible version of what they do the way that I do it.
Dude, that's the cool thing about this chassis that we built, though, right? Is it is exponential. It's not like I teach one person and it dies there, and hopefully they like help tons of people. If I teach one person, like I taught 100, and those 100 people go and help 5 clients each, right? That's 500 people. And those 500 people are all have 5 friends. And they're like, hey, did you know? And now it's 2,500 people. And those 2,500 people go and tell 5 friends. Like it's exponential. That's what's cool. But I'm so pissed about that motherfucker literally stealing our shit and didn't even make it work for himself.
Well, at the end of the day, though, you know what's going to happen.
I do.
And I'm not the people that he shows it.
Break over it.
The people that he shows it to are not going to have success because he didn't understand how to deploy it and won't understand how to troubleshoot it. And at the end of the day, he's going to tell them to buy more leads. And it's just
buy more leads, but probably hire more people. I hired 10 last week, fired 32,
fired 11.
Oh my God, dude.
Yeah. Yep.
Dude, what? Let me ask you this now. You need a break? You need a break for just a minute?
I'm good.
All right, so I'm going to ask you this, and then I'm going to disappear, but I'm listening intently.
Okay.
I'm going to do the mama behind this camera. The Mambo?
Mambo?
Mambo. No, that's the one. That's what I'm thinking. The Macarena. Hey, Macarena. So you asked me why Rev. I'm going to ask you the same thing. And I don't want this whole bullshit story about I was the worst agent ever. And no, why Rev? Because you're the kind of guy, Peter, you got the personality, the production, the ability. You could write your check anywhere you wanted to go. Why this?
Why this now or why this when I joined?
Both.
When I joined, because I was desperate. I was at the end of my insurance rope. I was at a place where my mentor and friend that had brought me into the business, Cliff, had retired after putting 50 years in with the business. And I fell into some pitfalls, right? I fell into the trap that when you have people working for you and you're not working too, that doesn't work. I mean, come, December of 2021, I think. Yeah, 2021. I literally was at the lowest life production I'd ever been at in my, at that time, 8 years in the business. So low, in fact, that I wasn't hitting my company's minimums just to keep my contract. And so I'm obviously capable, So I wrote enough life insurance. I wrote a policy on myself, and I think one other one, but enough to get me over the hump to where I could keep my contract for another year. And January 1st, it was like, okay, well, I don't know what I'm doing different this year, but I know I'm doing something different, right? And I happened to get a well-timed email from Cameron that had a promise. It was like, look, if you do the work, we guarantee you will increase your bottom line by $100,000 in 12 months or less. And if you don't, you get your money back, right? And so for me, it was a no-brainer, but it was something that almost felt too good to be true. So I ran it by a bunch of different people. I was like, hey, what do you think? And everyone that I talked to basically said the same thing. It's like, well, if they hold up their end of the deal, you really don't have anything to lose. It's like, okay. And full disclosure, I had no idea who you were. I mean, even though we literally grew up in the same town, wrote for the same carrier, had a bunch of the same interests, a bunch of the same friends, we're at the same place at the same time for like 8 years in a row, right? I had no idea who you were, right? The first time I ever heard you talk, aside from I watched like the intro video to What is Rush, was a Revel call that I was on. And it was the one for, what was that? Building a funnel basics, how to build a funnel, right? You and Cam. And literally the first time I had been on a call with you, talked to you, was that Wednesday Revel call, which at the time was Rev Your Agency. And looking forward, I mean, Rev made good on the promise. I ended up making like an extra $120,000, something like that, in the first 12 months of joining Rev.
But you did the work.
No, absolutely. Absolutely. I did. But it wasn't a pie in the sky, smoke screen full of shit kind of thing. It's actionable. I did put in the work, right? I tell people Rev is like a gym membership. If you put in the work, you'll get the results. Just the fact that you have a gym membership doesn't make you any stronger, faster, better looking, right? It's like steroids, Steroids don't make a hitter hit the ball any further. If they take the juice and they go to the gym and they put in the time in the gym and they put in the time in the batting cage, different story. But
talk Ard McGuire all they want, but that dude worked his ass off.
Yeah, 100%. So that's why I started, man. It literally came from a place of desperation. I felt like I was on an island. I didn't have a support network anymore because my mentor had retired and had been retired for a couple of years. And I didn't have an MLGA for a few years. And so for me, it was a necessity thing, right? And it was like, okay, well, I need this to work. I need to make this thing work. So that's why I started. Why do I keep doing it? Because I fucking know it works. I know it works, right? Because not only did I have my best year ever the first year I did it, I had my best year ever again the next year, And if I can do that, Cliff used to joke around in agency meetings when I came on as a new agent, and he would be like, he'd tell the other guys, he's like, look at Peter, look at him. There's nothing special about that guy. He's like, if he can do it, anybody can do it, right? He'd kind of laugh afterward, but he's right. If I can do it, there's nothing inherently special about me, right? It's just that I put in the effort and the energy to the right things and got the results. And I really believe that anybody can do that if they drink the Kool-Aid and just do what we're asking you to do, right? Unless it's illegal, immoral, or unethical, just do it. Knowing that I will never ask you to do anything illegal, immoral, or unethical. Yeah. What I'm asking you to do is what's best for you and your clients. So just do it. That's why I keep doing it, is because I know that I can help more people, right? There are other agents out there that are in the same place that I was in, or that didn't have the same kind of opportunity that I had when I started, and I can help close that gap for them.
It's beautiful. I think it's cool that, like, is it more time consuming now than I'd like it to be, or maybe you like it to be? Yeah. But that impact, it's not 40 hours a week. It's not like I got to run a whole other freaking business while I do this. You get to run a whole other business, while you do this, and it only gets better for everyone else who's there, and for those of us trying to give back at this point too. So it's cool. It's cool, man.
Yep.
What are you doing about this year? I know, you got work to do this year. How are you going to make it your best year yet? Like, what things are you going to do? Because somebody moved your cheese.
Yeah.
Somebody moved your cheese. Sure. How are you going to make it your best year yet?
I'm going to focus on what I can control, which is my attitude and my effort. That's it. Those are the only things that I have control of. Well, 3 things, really. It's attitude, effort, and how I react to things, right? That's something that I've been hammering into Peter, right? Not me, Peter, but my son, Peter. That kid's got some big feelings, right? And so the conversation has been like, look, buddy, there's only 3 things you can control. It's your attitude, your effort, and how you react to things. And most of the time when you get in trouble, it's because of how you reacted to it or your attitude.
Can I tell you something? Every time I hear somebody use the phrase, they've got big feelings. This isn't just a you thing, Peter. This is anybody. I think of one movie scene. Any guesses?
Big feelings.
Robin Williams, The Hook.
This is my favorite movie.
When Julia Roberts got horny and all of a sudden she upsized.
You're huge.
I got some feelings. They're just so big, and I had to.
I love that movie. You know who hates that movie? Steven Spielberg.
Dude, fuck Steven Spielberg. But I love that movie.
Bangarang.
Rufio.
Rufio.
I don't mean to cut you off. Just anytime somebody says I've got big feelings, I get a vision of Julia Roberts getting larger. Not fat, just large.
Yeah, proportionally bigger.
Wanting to ride
Peter's Pan.
Peter's Pan. I was going to say pants, Peter. Peter!
Run home, Jack. Run home, Jack. No. You've got it all wrong. Love that movie. My boys love that movie.
I've had an apostrophe.
That must hurt.
Seriously, one of the top movies of all time, I think.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah, dude. That food fight scene where like they're just scooping out that looks like colored Cool Whip, and
dude, it's Mormon Jello salad is what they're throwing. I'm telling you. It's Mormon Jello salad.
Not to be confused with Catholic Jello salad. Get it right.
Yeah, no, the Catholics don't use an appropriate amount of whipped cream.
Obviously.
Their whipped cream is very clear. It was absolved
of all its sins.
Oh shit. We're gonna get all of us canceled. Every one of us.
That's all right. We'll be there together. We won't be lonely.
No, we won't. I didn't mean to cut you off. You just said big feelings, and I was like,
yeah. So that's the conversation I have with Peter. Is like, hey, look, there's 3 things you can control, dude: your attitude, your effort, and how you react to things. It's like, what got you in trouble today? What was it? It's like how I reacted. It's like, yeah, no one can make you mad but you. Like you have to give somebody the right to make you mad, and then to stay mad is like drinking poison and hoping the other person dies, And I get it, dude, because I am a redhead through and through. I get pissed sometimes, right? But I can control whether or not I'm going to be pissed about that thing. I can control whether or not I let that thing eat away at me. It's like, hey, my carrier made some choices that were not in what I feel is my best interest. Like, okay, well, what am I going to do? Am I going to be bad? Am I going to be pissed off? Am I going to be angry, upset? It's like, yes, for a very small amount of time. And I'm going to put it to 5 minutes. I'm going to give myself 5 minutes to be pissed off about this.
See,
and after that 5 minutes, I'm going to find a way to make this work for me.
This is why I need you in my life, dude, because I'm not even red, and I I truly feel like, no, I'm not the only one that can make me mad because that motherfucker made me mad. Now I'm going to go attempt the 5K. I'm going to get all sweaty. And then I'm going to just like pound a box of Cheez-Its and a beer so that like I'm not even breathing right. And I'm going to ride that motherfucker's face with nothing but some spandex on for a while. I hate that person. I want them to just have sweaty spandex balls in their face for a time. Like we're talking 15 to 30 minutes. You know what I'm saying? For a redhead, how the hell do you have a better attitude than I do? Look at me. I should have a good attitude.
I've just got more practice dealing with it. That's like Colin used to ask me when he was little. It's like, how'd you get so good at fixing stuff? It's like, buddy, because I was really good at breaking stuff. I just have more at bats. That's all it is.
Dude, Camille used to ask me that all the time. How'd you get so good at doing drywall? Oh, because I kept punching.
Because I punched a bunch of walls.
Dude, when I was in middle school and high school, it was once, twice a week, I would punch a hole through my wall in my room. And it got to the point, like, my parents were so pissed about it. Like, I'd punch a hole. I couldn't stop punching holes, but I could damn well fix it. So, like, once a month, I'd make a trip down to Ace Hardware, get some tape, get some mud, some spackling, and I always kept a little can of paint, and it was always just hidden away in my closet. And I'd get pissed. I'd go punch a hole in the wall, and then I'd fix it.
You ever mark out, like, where the studs were to make sure that you didn't punch that?
No, dude, because they're, like, this is how fucked up I was. I always was just like, I'm just going to throw it, and wherever the stud is, if I hit it,
where it is.
Good. So I also, like, my hands don't work entirely right at this point in life, and they hurt all the time because I broke my knuckles and my fingers so many times on the studs. I'm talking like weekly, not necessarily breaking something weekly, but punching a hole weekly for 4 solid years. But yeah, I got damn good at doing drywall patch and repair. Like, I even got to the point, Peter, where some of those holes were big enough. I just kept a little thing of sheetrock in the corner, propped up in the corner of my closet, propped up on the side. And then I would lean like my football pads and stuff against it so my parents couldn't see it. That way, like, if the hole was too big, I could go ahead and cut it out, backboard it, and then put in a whole new piece instead of just trying to patch the hole. Like, I literally kept a freaking thing of sheetrock in my closet, dude.
Have you ever seen the California patch? Seen how you do that? So you take a piece of drywall, and you go ahead and just, you got a round hole. Let's say you go ahead and just square it out, right? Make it a nice square hole. So you take your extra piece of drywall and you cut it out where it's maybe 2 inches larger in every direction than it needs to be. And you go ahead and cut that out. And then you go through and you score that thing where it's got like a 2-inch border all the way around. And you break the drywall and then just peel it off the paper where it leaves a 2-inch paper around. So you got a square hole in the middle with a 2-inch paper border, and then you just throw down some mud, put that thing in, the paper holds it in place, you mud down the paper, skim over it, done.
Spackle paint, dude, that's a good idea.
Not have to worry about running screws into the other drywall to hold in place.
I'll screw that drywall.
Oh, I'm sure you will.
Have you seen there's this dude on Instagram, I think he lives down in the Dominican or something, but he's this bald-headed Slavic dude, super into fitness and whatever. He's a fitness influencer. And he has this clip where he's like, fuck your protein powder, right? And then, so like people have clipped that. They clip that, and then they tag in this thing where like in their protein powder, they open up their protein powder and there's just this hole from a rod going down in it, right? And then it pans over to them. They're just drenched in sweat. They're like, oh, I did it. What's the next step? One of my favorites, dude. It comes up every now and I saw it years ago, and every time it comes back up, fuck,
still hits.
Protein powder.
Still hits.
Oh, gosh, dude. All right, I've got a couple questions for you before we wrap up today.
Okay.
You ready for this?
I'm ready.
Marry, fuck, kill. No, I'm joking. What's the most devastating thing that's ever happened in your life?
I think the biggest one was before I opened my agency. So I got married a little older. I was 30 when Cassandra and I, 29 when we started dating. 30 when we got engaged, 31 when I got married. And up until we were married, I was a single guy with a sales job and a race car. Like, I rented a room from my buddy Corey. It was $400 a month. Like, I could have flipped burgers and continued to not only to make rent and make all my payments, but to put money away. Right? Like, I was living way underneath my means. Right? Well, so in this 2-year window, I meet this girl with a 5-year-old son, fall in love. We get married. I bought a house for us to live in. We got married in November of 2012, and February 4th of 2013, I was told we were being laid off. And I did not tell Cassandra for almost 2 weeks because I was ashamed. I was embarrassed. For the first time in my life, I realized that I was responsible for more than just me, and I felt like I had let my family down. Nothing I did. It was the company got bought. Right? It was Icon Office Solutions got bought by Rico, and they ended up, I did contract sales, which basically was copier insurance, right? I was selling a promise that when your copier breaks down, we will have somebody to you to fix that thing right now. And there was like 45 people that did what I did across the country, and they scaled it back from 45 to 15, and then from 15 down to just me. And they kept just me around to train the billing folks how to do like this little bit of what we did. But when that thing happened, it was like, man, I don't know. Like they gave me severance because I had worked there for like 8 years. Right. So I had severance and I had options and I had savings, but I felt as a husband, a father, a man, that I had let my family down. And that was probably the biggest thing that I've had to overcome. And the crazy thing is, like, those things happen and we don't talk about it. We don't talk about it. But I find that more of my guy friends that I talk to about stuff like that, they're like, oh yeah, man, I went through something like that too. And everybody has their story of their thing that they went through, right? But for whatever reason, guys, it's not socially acceptable, or they're just not comfortable with it, or what. But yeah, you need to have more people around that you can talk to about stuff like that, because you're not the first person to go through it. Cassandra and I had fertility challenges for like 5 years and didn't really talk to many people about it. But almost every time we would talk to somebody, come to find out, they went through it too. Or somebody that they're really close with went through it. Or, when I was dating, talking to people about, so Cassandra was the medical assistant at the doctor's office that I went to, but that's not how we met. We met through eHarmony, right? Because I'm a guy. When I go to the doctor's office, it's because something is ready to fall off and I need some kind of pill to not make it fall off, right? So I have tunnel vision. Like, I'm in to get better and get out. I don't want to be here, right? She was there. I walked past her 40 times. Didn't even give her a second look, right? But again, the more people I started talking to about the online dating thing, it was like, oh yeah, that's how I met my wife, or that's how so-and-so met this person, or that's how, these people met. It's like, oh, why are people talking about this stuff, right? So there's a lot of those things, but for me, that was the one where it was like, I felt like I had let Cassandra and Colin down. And that's ultimately what led to me opening my agency. So, lemonade out of lemons.
What did Cassandra say when you finally told her?
She was okay with it. She was like, hey, you don't need to. I told her, it's like, hey, this happened a couple weeks ago. Like, I could not figure out how to tell you this. Like, I told her, it's like, I'm embarrassed. I went from having like this teeny tiny little financial liability where if I wanted to say, screw this place, I'm out, I could do that with no repercussions and not have to worry about anything. And all of a sudden it was like, oh, I'm responsible for more than just me. And so we had that conversation. She was like, no, you don't ever need to stay somewhere where you don't want to be. It's like, but let's talk about it. Talk about it. Let me know what's going on. Because basically she's like, I could have helped you through this. I could have been here for you at least. You didn't need to feel like you were going through it on your own. It's like, yep, you're right. You're right.
That hit hard. That hits hard, dude. like with some of the health stuff I went through last year, and I didn't tell anybody until I was coming out of it. Those are some dark damn days, and I made a lot of dumb decisions that I'm still working back from.
Yeah. There's just a lot of, I mean, that's where I think that's what I think the value is in like the Rise group is Rush. It's people trying to figure out just how to do the thing, how to make the career work, right? Rise is entrepreneurs and business owners. You know, it's millionaires doing millionaire shit. And that can be a lonely path. And it's one of those things where it's like, there's a group of like-minded individuals that I'm not the only one that's gone through this. I'm not the only one that's gone through. It's like, hey, all of a sudden my carrier decides they don't want to write this line of business. Okay. That's not a problem that's unique to me. Hey, commissions are getting cut on this line of business. Okay. That's not a problem that's unique to me. We need to figure out how to structure paying employees or how to do whatever, right? None of those problems are things that's unique to the Wood Insurance Agency, right? You've been through it. Casey's been through it. Matt's been through it. Scott's been through it. And we can have those conversations and go, hey, what am I missing? What can I do to make this have the least amount of negative impact for me, or I can pivot and move forward? What did you do that worked? What did you do that didn't work? You know, it's just having people to talk to about that stuff.
Yeah.
It's the big part of getting off the island. It's not just me that's on this journey. I have a whole community of people that I can call and go, hey, I need to talk to somebody about this.
So what's the best thing that's ever happened in your entire life?
My boys being born.
Describe that. Because you say that and I agree. Like that's for me, same thing, but it's also like a very specific, direct, like there's a story behind it, right? I'd love to know your story.
So I was fortunate that when I married Cassandra, it was instant family, just add water. I got Colin as a part of the deal, you know, and then we struggled, you know, we wanted to have more kids right away, and we struggled for a long time, 5 or 6 years. And then when we did have Peter, Cassandra's pregnancy was great, and she almost died delivering him. And it was, I have the same relationship with Colin as I do with Peter and Harrison, right? Like biologically or not, Colin's my kid. You know, I don't tell people I have a stepson. It's like I have 3 boys. I have my 3 sons, Colin, Peter, Harrison. And a lot of people said that when I had kids of my own, that I would feel differently about them than I did about Colin. And I don't feel any differently about him than I do the little boys. You know, I remember telling Colin, like, I pulled him aside one day. It was probably, I don't know, maybe it was either like 6 months after Peter was born or shortly after Harrison was born. And man, I love on my little boys all the time. And I told Colin one day, it's like, you know, if I thought that you would let me hug and love on you the way that I hug and love on the little guys, I would do that too. It's like, but I have a feeling you probably are not going to let that happen. And he just smiled and he's like, yeah, no. I was like, okay, just as long as you know that I feel the same way, I'm just not going to love on you visibly the same way that I do on the little boys, because you're in a different place where you won't let me. But if I thought I could get away with it, hugs incoming, like right now. He laughed and was like, okay. But when, you know, with Colin, it was kind of unique because I got to pick him. Peter and Harrison are who they are. I didn't have any real say in the matter. I mean, you know, little say in the matter, but I did bare minimum.
Dude, you got good. They at least got in the picture at Yellowstone. Jameson wouldn't even get in the fucking picture.
Yeah. No, but it's a different thing, you know, like I told Colin all the time. It's like, hey, I didn't have a choice with them. I had a choice with you. I chose you. I picked you. So to that extent, our relationship is a little different just because he's my road dog, man. He's the one that I got to pick. With Peter and Harrison, it was different because I'm holding this kid and it's like, oh my God, this looks like me. I mean, you look at pictures of Peter and me when we're the same age, it's the same kid, dude.
Weird what your semen will do.
And Harrison, I think he's a great blend of Cassandra and I. Cassandra thinks he just looks like me, but it's like, no, he's he's 50-50. He's got that great big old dome like Cassandra has, but all of this. But no, it's the boys are, I mean, I love Cassandra. And Cassandra, the boys would not have happened without Cassandra, right? But the single biggest thing for me was, I mean, it's being a husband and a dad. You know, that fundamentally changed some things for me. All for the better, you know. But yeah, it's a different animal being responsible for other human beings, specifically when they look like you. And they say things like you, and they walk, talk, and act like you. And it's like, I know what they're going to say before they say it, because that's what I would have said. And it's the funny thing is, like, you know, you want your kids to be strong and independent with everyone but you. It's like, no, I just need you to agree with me and do what I ask you to do. You go ahead and be argumentative with everybody else. That's fine. Do what daddy asks because daddy asked you to do it.
It's so Camille and I literally had this conversation this morning. Jensen and I were going back and forth, right? I'm teaching him to spell. He's in third grade. Third grade is when I learned to spell ultramonosilcovolcanoconiosis. It's the medical terminology for black lung disease. And I learned how to spell that in third grade because my teacher put up a challenge. And so anyways, Jensen's teacher was like, well, if you can spell beef jerky. And I was like, motherfucker, let me give you a challenge.
What a potato thing to say.
But so I challenged him this morning. I was like, Jensen, you've got 1 week to learn how to spell from memory ultramonosilcovolcanoconiosis. And it started this whole conversation argument. He's back and forth. And he walks away and Camille's like, do you feel like you're arguing with yourself? I'm like, fuck yeah, I do. And it's so frustrating. Like, I don't even want to punch him. He's my child, but I want to punch me right in the face. But also, it was like this, what I said to her. I was like, but I haven't lost yet, have I? But he's third grade. He's so intelligent. He just comes right back. So, you know, you talk about like this little mini me walking around, and Jameson's the one that always gets credited to like, he's my mini me, but so is Jensen.
Yeah.
And they have so much of their mom too, because I come home, I walk in the door and they're like, Dad, they want to give a hug. That ain't me. I'm like, toughen up, grab a file. Let's score some shit, you know? Let's put marks on something. And Camille's like, let's find a corner and get a blanket.
This is going to come through.
Your virtual background.
Yeah, it's blowing things up.
Still a tiger. Yeah. I see a bowl cut on a redhead.
No, it's from Easter. He's wearing rabbit ears.
Oh, okay. It didn't come through. The tiger kept coming through.
Freaking tiger.
Damn tiger.
Anyway.
Yeah, dude. All right. One last question before I let you go. You're there. What's your favorite place to eat at again? Oh, it's the Korean barbecue. I know this.
I like the Korean barbecue because it's close by. My favorite place to eat is probably, but they closed the KFC next to my office, bastards. I wish they would just come out on their website and say the Double Down's coming back this day. Like, make it a McRib. That's fine. Once a year. I can live with that. Anyway, no, my favorite place right now is this place called Rodizio Grill. It's a Brazilian steakhouse. Rodizio's where it's at.
So you're at Rodizio's.
Okay.
You eat your heart out.
And they offer chicken hearts at Rodizio. Just, you know.
So you put some chicken hearts in a box along with some other things. You're on your way out the door. You get in the BMW, cruising down the road, right? And you're like, you know what? I've got a 45-minute drive to the airport because I just got to fight with my wife.
Way to tie it all back together.
I'm feeling peckish. You pop open that little doggy bag, right? You're picking at the chicken hearts. One falls on the floor. You're like, oh God, I'm BMW. So you're driving. Superstitions with the little people are out over this way. You know what I'm talking about. I'm tying this whole episode together.
Yeah, I see that.
You bed down. You're fishing around for that chicken heart. You find it. You pull it up to your mouth. You pop it in. Savory. You look up. Semi blasts you from this earth. God forbid. God forbid you die with a chicken heart in your neck. If anything's going to be in your neck, it better be
chicken heart. Not like Joe Jordan. He had a dick in his neck.
I'm going to have to call Joe and tell him that.
That's on YouTube.
Dude, I'm literally going to call Joe and tell him this. I'm going to tag him on this podcast. But you're dead. You're gone.
Okay.
You're in this weird place between you're skirted off to some other next life and you're still stuck in this one.
Who am I haunting?
You're floating above your body. Cassandra's there. Peter, Harrison, Colin. Everybody you ever loved. flashing lights. There's all these things. And you're standing there looking at yourself with a dick in your neck. I mean, a chicken heart in your neck. What's the one thing you wish you would have done before that happened?
Pass on as much information to the people that I care about as possible. Specifically, making sure that nobody had to question how much I cared about them or what I thought about them. You know, that even though I'm not here, that there's no doubt in my mind that the boys in Cassandra and my friends and family know that I love them, and I care about them, and I want the best for them, and I just hope that they're able to be the best versions of them, right? And hopefully some of the information and knowledge that I passed along helps them do those things.
So what is it about dying with a chicken dick in your neck that makes a person think about that for the first time, or maybe not for the first time, but beyond what they've ever considered before?
So for me, it's one of those being able to learn from somebody else's mistakes instead of you having to make that mistake on your own. I've had quite a few friends pass away in the last 5 years. Some people that were younger than me. Most of those were lifestyle choices, right? It was friends of mine that were doing drugs and just doing stupid shit, right? But it was one of those things where when you go to somebody's service, and it's like, man, number one, I hope I don't let my family down like this. You know, it doesn't mean that, I mean, when it's your time, is what it is. But hopefully it's not from something stupid like, hey, I made a terrible choice and, you know, I overdosed from whatever. But the flip side of that is like, I realized in those moments, it's like, man, I don't take enough pictures with friends. You know, some of my best friends, like that's one of the things that in the last couple of years that I've tried to start doing is when I am with people, I try and take a picture with them. Because number one, I want to have pictures of me and them, but I want them to have pictures of them and me, you know? So it's not just the memories. It's like, here's a recorded image of we were here doing this thing together, having fun together, you know? Yeah. So hopefully learning from other people's mistakes and trying to not repeat it, you know, and just spending time with people you care about and making sure that there's a balance, right? I don't want to spend all of my time like people that go to a concert and record the entire concert. It's like, well, you were never present at that thing. Like you were looking at it through your phone, you missed out on the experience, right? But I think the balance point is like, I do want to have a picture of us walking into the concert. I want to have a picture of us hanging out at the bar afterwards or whatever. So that way, when I go back, it's like, oh man, I have all these cool, Cassandra's got this cool thing where her phone, I don't know if it's Google or if it's just her iPhone. One of the things syncs up with our Fire Stick. And when the TV goes into like sleep mode, it just scrolls through pictures from her phone that are backed up. And it's fun. Like sometimes I'll just sit and watch that. Like see pictures of the boys like Harrison. Did you know that sidewalk chalk is non-toxic? We know that because Harrison chewed up a freaking stick of it and like had this pink ooze all down his face from this piece of sidewalk chalk that he was chewing on, right? But that picture came up one day and it was like, oh man, like Sandra called poison control. It's like, honey, I'm pretty sure chalk is non-toxic, but call whoever you need to call.
It's fucking colored calcium.
Yeah.
Peter Wood, you're the best man I know.
Thanks, dude.
Anything else you want to leave folks with?
Man, just don't feel like you're on an island. You don't need to be on an island. There are other people out there that are going through the same stuff you're going through or similar. And the only way you're going to find out what other people have been through is to talk to them about what you're going through. I think that you're going to find that more people are not only sympathetic, but have similar experiences. But if you don't put yourself out there first, you probably will never know that.
I appreciate it, man.
Yeah, buddy.
Thank you for being here.
My pleasure. Thanks for having me.
Can I send you a bucket of chicken?
I don't know if they'll deliver anymore, Carson.
I'm going to check.
We'll have to see.
Yeah, we will see. All right, man. Appreciate
All right, buddy.
it.
See you later.
Yeah.
Thanks so much for tuning into the A2C podcast today. I appreciate you joining me on this unfiltered journey into the minds of remarkable people. I hope you enjoyed the candid conversations, the authenticity, and the insights shared. Remember, this is an ad-free podcast, so your support in sharing this with others, well, it means the world to me. If you want to stay connected with me and the podcast and be the first to know about our upcoming guests and episodes, follow me, the podcast, whatever, on social media, A2C Podcast on Facebook, and we'll get our Instagram and everything else set up. At cporter389 is my own personal stuff on all platforms. Your feedback, your ideas, they're invaluable to me. Drop me a message, drop the podcast a message, share your thoughts, let me know who you'd like to hear from next. Together, we're on this mission to explore all the facts of success and life, but be candid as hell about it. So I appreciate you. Come find me, come follow me, and let's do some awesome things together. Appreciate y'all.